Okay, headphones. All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, Fantanas. Hey, how's it going? Um, my name's Kurt Santana, aka Courtney Love. I'm joined here with Jeremy McMahan. We're on the stream. Jimmy says, "So good. How are you, Jeremy? How are you?"
I'm doing pretty well today. I like the Fantanas. I need to think of a name to call my fans. I feel like that's always a good move. But yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. You are always welcome to the stream. Jeremy's a very good friend of the stream. Was on the stream previously before. Led a guided meditation for me personally. I don't think there were that many people there until right after, and you had to go make some food. But I'm hoping more
Yeah,
people show up today. Apology bits. No need to apologize. I just realized I'm coming in very hot for a meditation stream. No worries. No, no, no. First, we're gonna be talking about some projects, things that Jeremy's been working on, and part of that has to do with the stream as well. But let's get into what has just released recently, right? This happened maybe yesterday or a couple days before.
yeah. Well, I think I put it up on SoundCloud almost a week ago, but I finally decided to be that guy and start a podcast. And So I started a podcast about meditation
Mm,
called Meditating with Friends. We got one episode out right now. I just recorded the second episode yesterday, and it was excellent. So I'm really excited to put that out as well. But yeah, so just a little bit about me would probably make sense. Just so you know why I made the podcast. I am a meditation teacher. I used to work at the Rubin Museum of Art, which is a Tibetan and Himalayan art museum in New York City. It's a Buddhist art, and I studied Buddhism in college. I actually lived in India and Nepal for a while after I graduated from college, living with Tibetan communities there. And at the Rubin, I was a tour guide, or that was one of the things I did. Was I was a museum educator and tour guide, and so like I could talk about this stuff. I got practice talking about meditation,
mm,
talking about Buddhism, and I really developed kind of a niche that I was like, I'm able to break things down
mm,
pretty well, and what can become a pretty complex topic. So that
mm.
coupled with being an audio engineer, I was a musician and audio engineer, and just over the past for like decade or really more, I've been just messing around with recording stuff on my own, and I was like, I mean, it just makes sense for me to make a podcast. I know how to do it,
Mm,
and know how to get the word out. So yeah, I just finally decided to do it, and I was really excited. I'm excited
mm,
about the format of the podcast because for a long time for me, I was like, I don't want to have a. I'm like, yeah, I know how to do a podcast. I know how to put something together, but like, I don't want to make a podcast of just me like talking about Buddhism and meditation. Like,
mm,
that's boring. But so the show is called Meditating with Friends, and the reason why is because every episode will have a guest. And what I think makes our podcast unique compared to most meditation podcasts. Most meditation podcasts, it's like I'm a guy. It's like I'm somebody who meditates, and I'm going to talk to this other person who also meditates a bunch, who's this
mm,
meditation teacher, and like I didn't want to do that, so like uh, I just wanted a show where anybody could come on, regardless of whether they've uh, are extremely experienced with meditation or even if they've never meditated before.
right.
And so that's really kind of the launching point is that we have somebody on, we talk about meditation, and then I actually do a meditation in the middle of the show that you
Oh,
can
great.
follow along to.
Mm,
If you're you are invited and encouraged to follow along with the meditation. And then we chat a little bit after about their experience with it. And, I'm hoping, in the future when I do have, more experienced meditation teachers on, I'm hoping to have other people lead meditations. But for now, it's just been me.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much the show. And Kurt, definitely would love to have you on sometime soon. So
I appreciate the
we could
invitation.
record something. So yeah, we should definitely set up something to a recording session in the next couple weeks, and
Great. Yeah.
put it
Let's
together to
not
show.
talk shop.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
not.
Let's not talk
We
shop.
could talk about it later.
And I appreciate the great lengths you went to talk about some of that stuff. And if you don't mind me saying, it kind of when you were talking about it, it kind of sounded like you were taking a plunge in terms of like making the podcast, because you made it seem like it was very well worn territory, which it is. But you did go to the part where you were talking about, I know what I'm talking about. I have experience in this sort of realm, and so I guess something that I'm always thinking about, and I was talking to my therapist about this today, is what has been stopping me from um, not putting where my money where the mouth is, but more of just like becoming who I say I am, and either producing content or doing a project that I think makes me feel fulfilled. Um,
Yeah,
and the time, like, time is such a relative concept. Like, you shouldn't even pay attention to it, but I do pay attention to the time it takes between when I've learned something and when I actually put it to practice. And so you're finally
hmm
putting something into practice where it's like, of course, you've been meditating yourself for so long and you've been teaching people how to meditate. Now it's like,
hmm
I think I have something to teach, or I have something to share with people about this thing that I have an expertise in.
yeah,
I mean, is any of that resonating for you?
yeah, totally. I mean, like, why did I decide to do it now? I mean, it's definitely something I've been thinking about for a while. I think for this year, really. I mean, it kind of started off, I'd say, with during COVID. Like during the initial lockdown, I started live streaming meditations
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube, and people seem to like them. And it's interesting too because like just comparing kind of the reaction I'd got because like as I said before, I'm a musician and like I've released a lot of music, and it's never been quote unquote successful, and just seeing like how people were reacting to this compared to like how they react to my music. I don't know, it's like it seemed like people were like more excited, and I guess maybe in our circles because like I'm friends with a bunch of musicians, so like we're all kind of putting out music,
Right.
and so it's like, oh yeah, it's just yeah, Jeremy, and we got another song, cool, but like I'm the only meditation teacher like in our circle or in my kind of in my network. I like
Mm-hmm.
my immediate network. I don't know how to, yeah. And so like, yeah, people just seem to get really excited about it in a way that I hadn't seen with the music, and so it just sort of felt like, oh, I don't know, it felt like there was kind of like a hunger for it, more like people were kind of craving this content.
Well,
But with that
if
being said,
well,
yeah,
sorry.
well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, not sorry to interrupt you, but Jamie Lee Sprinkles in the chat says that the vibes are immaculate, perfect proximity content, and has been throwing the link everywhere to get some traffic in here. We really appreciate that, Jimmy. But yeah, if this stream is any indication of what you're trying to do with your podcast, it's going to be incredible for people to hear. If it's about
Yeah,
meditation, um,
I appreciate that. And I mean, that is kind of the vibe. I want to cultivate like a friendly, fun, happy, because like vibe, because like so much of meditation is like, or meditation content, I would say, is like, it's either like very serious or like or just like sort of in the clouds and kind of oblivious. Like, you think of
Right.
your typical, if you think of a meditation teacher, you probably picture, a skinny white lady, like meditating on a beach or some bullshit like that. Like
Right.
that's,
Yeah.
or that's like the images that we've been fed to associate with meditation and kind of the vibe too. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like it's
Mm,
just not the, well, it's not a vibe I'm interested in, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to
right.
deny that like that vibe isn't real, but it's like
Yeah, from
it's
those type
not
of
it's not
vibes I
what it,
get like the same thing as like evangelical church of just like let's do like mega shows or like meta meditation sessions like where it's like I'm the teacher now and the teaching like the teacher itself is getting more attention than the actual practice is.
yeah, and it's a sort of like doe in the headlights type of like culty vibe, I would say. Like
Hmm.
it can be, and like I've been around it, I know, and like, and I mean for me that's I mean, I see it even within the Tibetan Buddhist circles, and um, like so that's my background as a Buddhist, is that I come from the Tibetan Buddhist lineage. Like I was initiated into a Tibetan Buddhist lineage. My Tibetan, and that's the type of Buddhism I really focused on, was Tibetan Buddhism, and just like, oh my God, all the white people that generally follow Tibetan Buddhist lamas, of like, I generally can't stand them, and like, because they're just like, these people literally, a lot of these people make it their like life focus to like follow around these Tibetan guys,
Oh, so it's
and
people
like
following the dead, the
kind of,
deadheads.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
like,
they're heady
well,
heads.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was like, well, they're not dead, but uh, but but yeah, no, it's totally that same thing. And actually, I mean, I know specifically two people that were former deadheads that would now fall into this category. Like,
Mm,
so like that connection, I think, is very valid. But it comes,
yeah.
yeah, and it's like this weird, and it was again a vibe that I was like, I mean, I love, like, don't get, like, I love being in a Tibetan temple. I love,
Mm,
my guru. I love Tibetan teachers. I love hearing from Tibetan teachers. I love being in that environment. But I would just rather be surrounded by all Tibetans than than white people, because the white
right.
people make it weird.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. It's
and
when you take your obsessiveness in a way that it's more of a batch than it is part of who you are. I don't think the meditation is going to mask over the person that you are outside of meditation. For those specific people, because
yeah,
there's a certain obsessiveness that's very healthy within I think nerd culture, but some people take it the wrong way, and I think this is across like different, like all different types of things that you can obsess over. Um, but
yeah,
generally speaking, like an environment like the one that I take here, for example, like when people show up to my like gaming streams, there are maybe like 15 to 20 people at the stream like earlier today, and that was like a peaking of that moment, and I was just like, this is a very silly game, but these vibes that the game is producing is like close to like immaculate, like as Jimmy said
yeah, yeah,
earlier, where it's like, this is where I
yeah.
want to be. People seem to be having a really good time in the chat, and I think that like that's the healthy part of that sort of like obsessiveness with this sort of like video game culture. And then
Hmm, hmm.
maybe you have the people that, I don't know, how would you describe the sort of obsession that you think is unhealthy within like meditation?
Mm. Good question. Uh, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if it's, well, for I guess going back to the white Tibetan Buddhist, and I know I'm white. I know I'm a white Tibetan Buddhist. So like I know I'm like I'm aware, but
It's not
I guess
just
what
white
bothers me
guilt.
about yeah, it's more. But uh, like what bothers me about that, I guess, is that I really feel like people are more into the exoticism
Mm,
of Tibetan culture rather than into the teachings of it. And like the teachings is what's core, and that's the core of Buddhism is these teachings that Buddha and has well Buddha himself and has shown historically great adaptability to different cultures. That's if you study the history of how Buddhism spread, it really does kind of like move in and intertwine with these cultures in a way that I feel like other religions don't. Um, so I think that that's one thing about it. In terms of like meditation, well, yeah, in terms of meditation and it getting obsessed, I don't know. It's like I just think people shouldn't take it so seriously.
mm-hmm,
It's like it's a weird balance of like, and I think if people didn't take it so seriously, I think people would just do it more.
mm-hmm.
Like we kind of had this idea of meditation as being this kind of like, you know, this really like intense. Like people are like, I can't meditate. People say that, and I'm like, you can. You can try. You can try for a minute, and it's like people have this idea that like meditation is stopping your mind, and it's like that's not what meditation is. Like your mind
Right.
doesn't stop. Like um, and unless you're like enlightened or something, like then
Right.
probably you could like
Yeah.
stop your mind.
Yeah. I think
But I would
there's.
just
Oh,
yeah.
good.
I
I
was just
was
gonna
gonna.
say, I think that's a vibe that I want to put out.
Mhm.
Sorry, that the like, that I just want people to not. People have a sense of fun with it, a sense of play with it, and it doesn't have to be this like really intense thing.
Mm-hmm.
That you know, because I think that intensity scares people off.
Yeah. And I was thinking about. I think this relates in a way that the anxiety that I had about actually making a medical appointment um, was a lot of different feelings. Like there were lots of pieces of anxiety that made me anxious. It was
Mm-hmm.
the the fact that there might be the fact. Yeah, it is the fact. The fact that there might be some medical bills coming on.
Mm-hmm.
The finding out what's actually wrong with me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
not having an appointment till like months far away, because my mother works for a medical center, and she's scheduling appointments, and some of these people, if they say they have Medicaid, won't get an appointment for like months, and
Mm-hmm.
it made me scared about like actually like trying to make
Mm-hmm.
an appointment. I didn't want to have to hear that like your appointment's gonna be 5 months away, and having 5 months to think like, man, I'm gonna have 5 months where I'm just not gonna get any better. And
Yeah.
then what happened
Yeah.
today? I made an appointment. It took maybe like 30 minutes of my time. Got on the phone. I have an appointment next week, uh, and it's gonna be $0 copay. And it just like it blew my mind. Like every sort of anxiety went away just by doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the way that I think like everyone is like approaching meditation right now, where it's like we've become so conditioned to like social activity or like producing things, churning things out, being like tools in a system, that we haven't thought about what can we produce on our own with. It's still activity, it's not inactivity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally.
And yeah, being
And like,
still.
yeah. I mean, being still is the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's like they're one of them. It's like it really is, and this is something I really appreciated when I first like started. They really say like started my meditation journey with my meditation teacher Tom, who I used to come to the Reuben, but he's an American, but he was used to be he was a Tibetan monk for 7 years, and then he was a Zen monk for 7 years. So he's pretty legit. Uh, but when we first like were talking, he was like, you know what, meditation is weird. He's like, it's a weird thing to do. He's like, it's just so counterintuitive to like exactly to what you're saying. It's like, we are kind of trained to be active, to be like always doing something, and
Mm-hmm.
seldom do we ever just like sit there and kind of observe the internal mechanisms that are driving this whole thing, and that's really what I think meditation is about. Is understanding, first step is like building up your concentration enough so that you can like actually be aware, have some semblance of awareness of what's going on in your mind, and then once you have that, like start to kind of unravel, like, why you do the things that you do,
Mm-hmm.
um
I think that's scary too.
so
Figuring out that.
yeah, it is.
I think some people
It
are
is.
like the Patrick Batemans of the world who are just like, you're telling me you want me to figure out why I'm all messed up? that's
Yeah,
that's
it's
not only scary to some people, but also like what's the point? Like I don't want to change who I am. That's
yeah, and I
perspective.
guess yeah, and I guess it speaks to something in me that like, because I've done a lot along with meditation. I mean, I've done a lot in the past few years. Like, I've been in therapy, and then I've been exploring this other form of therapy. It's what we call somatic psychotherapy, or body-based psychotherapy, called bioenergetics, and that's really like, I've been facing myself a lot, and it's tough. I'll be honest, it's tough, and part of me wishes that I could just be like Patrick Bateman, be like, whatever, this is who I am, and like, but I guess I have some, if I was going to get deep psychologically, there'd be like I have some discomfort who I am, and that's why I seek to try to like better myself, essentially.
Yeah.
Which, but going back to your point though about what you were saying to your therapist, which I think is so interesting about that journey, is that I do feel like I am becoming more of myself
Mm-hmm.
through trying to change myself. I am becoming more of myself, in a way. I'm uncovering like, sort of my true self, and you know, beginning to question like the things that held me back, and be like, why, yeah, why am I scared to put out a podcast? Like, like why, and so yeah, I don't know. I think that's just kind of the name of the game, and that it's
Right.
just like,
I
yeah,
called
you
it I
kind
called it
of,
the Phantom of the Opera mask because we had
yeah,
started a conversation, me and my therapist, about the costume or the mask you wear in order to be the person that you are once you leave the front door. And I
yeah,
said that would have been a good analogy for who I was before, but whereas now it's like I'm chipping away at this costume and mask to be a holistic self that I could carry around in like my own, like who I want to be by myself should be the same person that I should introduce other people to. And
yeah,
that's what I feel like I'm chipping away at. And so I have this like idea of like it's the Phantom of the Opera mask, where I've got like this one
yeah,
side of my face that you can't see, but you could see the way that I emote, and you could see like in my eyes. And usually those are the most
yeah,
telling parts of the face. It's like
right,
whenever I would
totally,
get with like high with some friends, they would always like tap me on the shoulder when in a moment that I think I'm having a really good time and ask me if I'm doing okay. Because there is something in
Uh,
my face or my facial expression that was telling them that I wasn't having a good time. I've never noticed those
yeah.
things in myself before, but the fact that other people
Uh-huh.
can see that, it's like, what am I not concealing?
Yeah. No, totally. That's totally true. And that's actually reminds me. Well, this practice that I've been meaning to pick up that I've tried a few times, but well, this is going to be a bit of a rabbit hole. But um, this book I read called there's this book I read called Reichian Therapy for Home Use, which is a book that you can find online for free. Just find the PDF, but it's about how to do Wilhelm Reich's style of therapy on yourself by yourself. And for those of you who don't know who Wilhelm Reich is, he was basically, long story short, he was a Freudian Marxist psychotherapist, psychoanalytic therapist
Wow. Sounds expensive.
from yeah. Well, no, I mean, well, but he's a communist, so he like he he's dead. He's been dead since the 50s, and actually he died in prison, uh, in a U.S. prison. Yeah, it's he's a crazy. I love him, but anyway, uh, yeah. So it's basically his whole thing was like Freud's like there's an unconscious, right? But like where the fuck is this unconscious? Like no one can point to what the unconscious actually is. Wilhelm Reich was like, well, your unconscious is actually your body and expresses itself in your body. And so we all have these type of different, he came up with like a schema of like basically four different, there's a bit more, but about four different personality types based on people's physical structure and their emotional types. And so a lot of it is just about becoming aware of how you're holding your body and how you're presenting yourself. And so in this book, the exercise is to actually look at your face in the morning when you wake up every day and like write down like basically a story about who this person is.
Wow.
Uh, and it's intense. It's like I wake up and I'm like, I'll be like, man, this person looks sad and
Oh
like
no. Oh no.
like and like tired and like but it's gone from that to like oh, this person looks like good, but like
Hmm.
it's it really is like an eye, and it does make you think about like, well, how am I actually presenting myself in the world? It's like I may feel like I look happy, but like to other people I may have resting bitch face or something like that. So like
Iskander Isaac, welcome to the
uh
chat.
so like yeah, I don't know, I think that's a good thing to actually be aware of is like your
Hmm.
physicality and how you're presenting yourself. And yeah, it's like this. I mean, I think really the reason why we like put on a mask is just because we feel like people won't like our true selves.
Hmm.
Like we all feel that we have to be a certain way in order for people to like us. In order,
Hmm.
it's like I have to be like a certain way, to get a job. I have to be a certain way around my parents. I got to be a certain
Hmm.
way around my friends. I got to be a certain way if I'm trying to get laid. Like like those are like,
Right.
and I feel like if you're thinking about those things too much, like it becomes unnatural, right? And it's like if you just
Absolutely.
have like a confidence in yourself, and sort of like who you are, like you're going to attract people, and people are going to like you. And like yeah, maybe your mom doesn't like that you smoke pot or something, but
Hmm.
like she's still your mom, she's not like gonna like abandon
Right.
you. It, so yeah, I mean, it's a tough, it's a tough journey, but I think it's one that's worth taking. And there are certainly people that don't take the journey, and
Mm,
they're just like, oh yeah, my life is fine, and it seems like, you know,
right. There's some like unbridled
that they did.
confidence, and it's like, who are we to like shake that to its core?
Yeah, I mean, like Donald Trump, like, has he ever meditated in his life? But he's like supremely confident, right? Or at least that's
Right.
what he projects. Like, I
Yeah,
think
many would say that the
it's
complete
all
opposite of like what motivates his actions, but perhaps it's like
right. I mean,
that is what he thinks is confidence.
right, and it's
Hmm.
like, we can we can see that it's coming from a deep place of insecurity, and in the long run, even though, like, it's, well, I mean, we'll see what happens to him, but, like, he's leaving the White House as the worst president of all time. Like, people are
Hmm.
all like, hands down, like, there's not really any competition for like a worse president than that.
Right.
And so
Yeah, I
it's
think they're
like,
gonna make a new category at the Razzies for him. Worst president.
yeah, like, seriously. And so, like, his confidence and the self-image that he projected, like, that all led to that. If maybe he was like a bit more like reflective of like of who he was or whatever, like,
Hmm.
going, like,
Yeah.
that's so hard to imagine. But, like, like, yeah, he got successful for the short term, but I think ultimately the same things that led to his short term success are what's leading to his downfall, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, but that took a lot of work.
And
It took a like a whole like it felt like what do you call it? It felt like one of those like moments in history, or like perhaps in like English canon, where it's like you have a shift in a sort of style, where or
mhm,
maybe it was like like a philosophical moment, where it's like this was like a new awakening movement, the enlightening movement, where it's like when everyone realized that people identified with this man and what he represented, and how it
yeah,
was so many people who just told you to just like, hey, let's shift this perspective and realize people think that this guy's okay. People think everything that this is going down is totally fine, and that like this is a better
mhm,
America than it was before. And that's something really scary to come to terms with. And so I think like it promoted this sort of like shift. And so it's really important when you see like tweets that are out there like children in cages weren't enough for you. This and this wasn't enough for you, but now you're not cool with Trump. Try to see that in yourself.
yeah,
Like try to understand like
yeah,
what actually shifted your perspective here.
yeah. I think that's a good thing to point out, and a thing that people should be aware of. And I think, it has become this whole giant reflection. I mean, I don't know. It's like it's this whole past year, and I think, I roll my eyes, but like, they say there's like crazy astrological shifts happening where, like,
Oh,
like
it's Aquarius
the
season,
things are,
baby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but it is like, we've entered all these, like, the, I don't know, just a major period of reflection where it's like, first we got COVID,
Hmm.
everyone had to stay inside and reflect. Then we had, George Floyd and all the protests, and there's this massive reflection on, you know, white supremacy, and and, and Black Lives Matter, and just like policing, and like beginning to reflect on those things in a way that had never been done before. And it all had been bubbling under the surface, but then,
Hmm.
like, really became in the forefront of everybody's consciousness. And now with Trump and the the riot of the Capitol, like, that's another moment to reflect of like, well, this is how did we get to this? And like
Right.
what are the things that led us to so
Well,
meditation is great for
yeah, I was gonna say you're bringing
that.
up a lot of things that people should definitely meditate on. And I,
Yeah.
I didn't bring you on the show to do a guided meditation, but you offered so generously to do that. What do you think? Is there going to be a sort of theme behind this meditation? And that's something I might want to talk to you about afterwards. About like when people come, because we were talking about people following teachers, maybe like actual practitioners, and only going to the meditations that they perhaps uh,
uh,
give. And when I think about the Reuben and what was going on at the Reuben, it's just like there were themes attached to each of those days. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, I okay. It's funny. I mean, I yes, there were themes attached to those meditations, and I was a part of the team that would like help pick themes, and then we would always pick artwork to go along with the theme, and
mhm.
make some connection between the theme and the artwork. But did you notice that despite all the different themes, all the meditations were exactly the same?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like
Yeah, maybe the Q&A was different.
the Q&A was definitely different.
Mhm.
And like I think it's good to, they were good themes to talk about and reflect on, but like that's I don't know, when I teach meditation it's like I don't have a theme, I'm just like this is how you meditate.
Right.
I don't think it needs to be dictated by a theme. And I will suggest with people um, you know, like things to try out when I'm working on people one on one with meditation, which I do, and I'm available to do. So if you're interested in doing that, you can reach out to me on my Instagram, Jeremy McMindfulness. But yeah, so yeah, I don't have a theme because really the practice is pretty much there's different styles of meditation, but like the main practice that I teach is you know is just like what practice, and it's like that's just what you do, and you find, because but that may sound boring, that it's like, oh, I'm just doing this one thing, but you find that when you do the one thing, every time you do it, it's different, you know. Um,
Right.
and that's not to say that you shouldn't like research and like find like different styles of meditation that work for you and try different things out. I think that's good, but I think where the real depth, like anything, comes from is like spending time with one particular practice. Uh, excuse me. So the type of meditation that we will be practicing today is called shamatha, traditionally called shamatha meditation, which is translated into calm abiding. Calm abiding. Um, so the idea is that the meditation that we're gonna be doing is calming the mind. And the way that you do that is by using your concentration. So we're going to be focusing. Well, I'll ask you. Do you want to? Well, no, I changed my mind. I want to do. I want to do a specific one. So today we'll be focusing on the breath uh, as our object of focus. And so the idea is that we're just going to be watching our natural breathing, and you don't have to change anything about your breathing. Um, you don't have to breathe in any special way. You're not supposed to be breathing deeper. You're not supposed to be, breathing out for a certain amount of time.
Hmm.
Just breathing however your feels like in that moment, and that's where you're going to place your attention. And so
Is there
you just
any
watch the
sort of
breath.
thing that everybody has to do before they start? If anybody wants to join at home, do they have to get in a certain positioning?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I can talk about that real quick. So if you do want to join at home, basically feel free to meditate sitting cross-legged on a if you'd like, or you could just sit in a chair. I'm just going to sit in a chair. And I would just say, though, if you sit in a chair, just make sure that your feet are firmly planted on the ground. Um, yeah, that's the main thing about sitting in a chair. Also, whether you're sitting cross-legged or in a chair, you want to make sure that your back is straight but not rigid. So you don't want to be like, like really straining, but just
Mhm.
keep a good posture. You can actually feel free to meditate with your eyes open or closed. Whatever's good for you, whatever works for you. Yeah, and that's all you need to know about the positioning,
Okay.
basically.
Thank you.
Um, and then the Shema. So the idea here is that we're using our concentration to calm our mind. So we'll be concentrating on our breath, and again, just the physical sensation, no special way of breathing. And you just watch the breath, watch the breath, watch the breath until you notice you're no longer watching the breath. And I promise you, this will happen. You'll be watching, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing really great at meditation. Oh yeah, meditation's pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, it would be cool after I meditate would be to get food. You know. So and then you're like, oh crap, I'm not on the breath anymore, and then you bring it back.
Hmm.
So that's really the process, and you just do it that again and again and again. Except you shouldn't say, "Oh crap." You shouldn't beat yourself up for not concentrating on the breath. That's something that I think a lot of people fall into the trap at the beginning. Is they're like, "Oh, why can't I like focus on my breath? Why do I keep getting distracted?" It's like, no, that's okay. Like, expect to be distracted, and actually look at every distraction as an opportunity to make yourself better. Um, you like every time you are distracted and bring your attention back to the breath, that is really like the heart and soul of the practice, and like that is really what's going to help you, and that's what's going to uh, really improve your concentration and your awareness in the long run. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Any do you have any questions for me?
No,
Chat have any questions?
Chad, do you have any questions?
Really?
We'll give you a good 30 seconds on that. Just taking a
Also,
sip of my water.
well, I do have a question.
Hmm.
How long do we want to meditate? Maybe. What are you thinking?
Um, let's do something brief, something that people can just like, because we have until 9. So I would
Cool.
like to continue talking after it. So if you wanted to leave at least like,
Okay, so let's
yeah.
just I'll just do like 5 minutes. And that's another thing I will say about meditating is that people often get caught up in the amount of time. They're like, I need to meditate for half an hour, 2 hours. And again, I just don't think that helps people when they're starting out. Like,
Mm-mm, no.
I think it's more important to be consistent and do it every day. So even if you're only going to meditate for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that's fine. And just start with that and work your way up. But all right. So I got my bell here. So once we're all set, we'll start once I ring the bell. So now we'll place our awareness on our breath. Just noticing breath in its natural movement. There's no need to change anything about it. Just notice it. And if a thought feeling arises, you might be distracted. Just recognize you have been distracted. Place your awareness back on the breath. If thoughts, feelings arise, no longer watching. Just recognize that you've been distracted. Bring your awareness back. And if you notice you're no longer watching your breath, that is truly okay. Just recognize you've been distracted. Place your awareness back. All right, in just a moment, I will ring the bell, ending our meditation session. Once I ring the bell, I invite you to join me in a vow, dedicating all the merit to the benefit of all sentient.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. No, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
for
about right.
practicing with me. Yeah. So how was it? Any thoughts,
Yeah.
feelings?
Um, I couldn't stop thinking about the death toll today. Um, just the sheer weight of those
Uh,
numbers. And I
yeah, that's
think,
crazy.
yeah, and you know, in like every breath that I was taking, I just started thinking about that time that when people were talking about, or when people were talking about the number or like the time it took for George Floyd to like actually die, and like how long you were watching that video, and just
Mhm.
like I feel like in every breath
Mhm.
that I was taking, it symbolized every breath that was like the last person's breath. And I know that that was a really dark place to
Mhm.
go in, but it felt like that was a sort of empath experience that I needed to do in order for me to like really like put it into reality, that like this is something that's happened, and like we're allowed to grieve in ways that aren't
Yeah.
normal, because this isn't a normal thing at all. And it's, I don't know, it'd be interesting to read. about how people were dealing with the, aftermaths of the plague, the pandemics. Like, what was like the sort of civility in the way that people carried themselves.
Yeah, I mean uh,
It's
I
yeah.
don't want to. I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but because we, it's been unprecedented the amount of times I've heard the word unprecedented this year or this past year. But yeah, it's like, and like, okay, so two things, like the yeah, I think it's okay to go to different places, and like that's something again that I have like a problem with when you talk about like mainstream like meditation or new age or like
Hmm.
culture. Is it's just like it's all like sunshine and puppy dogs, and it's like no, it's not. Like I hate like when people are like positive vibes only. I'm like that's like I like fuck off, because like I know you don't have positive vibes only, and the
Right.
idea that you're suppressing your non-positive vibes like gonna give you cancer maybe.
Right.
But that's me out there on my
Right.
my
Yeah.
right
The
game.
curators
But
of vibes, the dude chillers, need to check themselves
yeah,
better.
so you should have permission to go to things, and you should give yourself permission to grieve.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I saw that number today. Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Even you know George Floyd and all the others, and you have reason to be upset. Like, no one should tell you not to be upset. You should be upset, and you should be allowed to feel it. And actually, if you are allowed, you're not going to be so upset anymore. Right?
Right.
You're going to
Yeah.
become familiarized with those feelings, and you're going to make constructive decisions rather than you know get blackout drunk.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Like,
we're giving everybody the therapy 101. Like, this is what you do in your
yeah,
introductory course to therapy. Like, your first session, this is what you do to get to know your therapist. But these are things that you could also
yeah,
do with yourself. Like, meditation is that practice that allows you to like see yourself without using a mirror, I feel. And like a lot of the time for me, it's like I'm sitting in this chair, and when I like create a vision, I also see myself sitting in the chair. So it's kind of like I'm looking
mm-hmm,
across at myself, doing that Meissner technique, especially since I do
mm-hmm,
TM, you know, having to
mm-hmm,
repeat that mantra.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
yeah, I mean, and I always say this to other people about like what are the like if someone asks me like what's the benefits of doing TM or any sort of meditation. And I was like, well, like, remember that bullshit in grade school where your teacher would tell you to just, like, clear your thoughts or clear your mind and how hard it used to be because everyone had undiagnosed ADHD.
yeah,
Yeah, your mind's running a
yeah,
mile a minute. And
and you don't even know.
absolutely. Right. And it's like we eventually we get names for it, the subconscious, your conscious mind. And then eventually you figure out how the mind works a little bit more and you want to explore that with yourself. So, um,
Yeah,
it gives you the
and I mean,
tool to clear your mind.
I think that is like key to like like no one's. I mean, we all have therapy. You know, I've been therapy. Everyone should probably be in therapy, especially after a year. Like, like, but in the end, with meditation and therapy, it's like you have to do the work. It's like no one for you. Your therapist can't do the work for you.
Right.
You got to do it, and that's
Right.
scary, but it's also empowering. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, why can't I do it? So yeah, I think I think it is a good chance to look at yourself, and it really is really a lot about. And while it can be scary and challenging, so I think it just pays off. Yeah,
Right.
you're gonna know yourself. You're gonna know how it makes you tick. You're gonna know. You're gonna be able to recognize when feeling rise in you, and you can actually make a decision about what's coming to the feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want to let everyone know
Yeah.
who's listening right now and watching. We're playing some music right now that Jeremy actually made for the stream. Jeremy, you can't hear it on your end, but it's on the stream.
No, I can't.
We're listening to Sex King, and the next track is going to be Sea King. And these were done in all one take.
Yeah.
Which is impressive, very impressive. They're immaculate. When I listened to them, I was just like, oh man, these seem very polished, very clean. And not to say that they shouldn't be from like a first run through, but I also had the impression that the first drum kick at the beginning was intentional. And then I was told like, oh yeah, that was I forgot to take that out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had machines helping me play the instrument. So it wasn't like I was there like playing the drum beat and playing all the keys, but I did, I kind of like sequence planned it out, like planned out, like sort like kind of jammed a bit beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, all right, let's go. And there's a part on each one was playing something that wasn't sequence, that was just me jamming over. So that part, was truly like live improvisation. I like working that way, just because it's just more fun. And yeah, I'd be happy. I mean, I'm a little busy. I'm trying to get the podcast off the ground. I actually have another music I need to finish. A friend that has a piece appearing at the RISD Art Museum.
Nice. Wow, dude. Rhode Island School of Design is probably like, I feel like that's the one that's so, I guess austere is the word, where it's like I don't really hear any sham about it, or like.
Yeah. Well, my friend went there. Who's he's making a video piece about the history of the value of Bitcoin. And so he like a graphic video of the value of Bitcoin. And so he went there. He's so that's he's got the in. I was honored that he asked me to. Yeah, actually, did you know what the RISD
The RISD what was?
Mascot?
No,
their
what's the mascot?
They're the scrotums.
The RISD scrotums?
Yeah, I mean they don't have, because they're like a design school. Like I don't even know what sports they even have.
They're probably intramurals, if anything.
Yeah, but that's how little of a fuck they give about their mascot. I guess that's the idea behind it. Is that,
no specific being that the scrotum's attached to. It's just the scrotums. All scrotums.
I don't know. All scrotum. I'm actually looking. I want to make sure. I didn't ask actually. No, there is. It is no. There's actually a person. There's a thing I got. His name is Scrody.
Scrody the scrotum. Gosh, the headcanon behind this thing is probably incredible.
I guess it's the unofficial.
That's even better. Mascot. Honestly, yeah, it's student owned.
But also this mascot, to me personally, looks like it's more than just a scrotum. It's got the whole balls and shaft. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed because scrotum.
Yeah, it's its own
you
thing.
get the you don't get the Scrody you want, you get the Scrody you deserve.
Yeah,
But
don't conflate the Scrody.
yeah. But anyway,
Um,
yeah, man.
you go. Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah,
interesting that you were mentioning improvisational music, and this is taking it a couple of steps back before we mentioned RISD, I think. Um, but
yeah,
the idea that it's more fun to do improvisation. I had a musician on Saturday late night, who's also provided music for the show and has performed
yeah.
it.
I saw the clip. I mean, I saw like a bit of the. Didn't actually get a chance to watch. Like here, I listened to a little bit, like only a few seconds, but I gotta go back and actually listen. But yeah, it seemed pretty awesome.
Yeah, at your leisure, but it was an improvised set. There were some tracks that were requested and therefore were played, and then he fine tuned them a bit. But he really loves going into that sort of improvised set where it's like, sure, there are some songs that we're gonna play. There are like particular parts of the songs that he can't change. You know, where it's like a drum loop, or it's like this is the backing track of whatever the track is, and here's how I can modulate
Mm,
it so that people are hearing something
yeah,
new. And yeah, for the most part, because I had listened to a lot of Ark of the Hunter, which is what he performs as, and none of it seemed familiar. And I thought that that was really exciting.
yeah. No, I love that. I mean, I hate. I mean, back in the day when you could go to live shows, I hate going to see a live band, and I hate it if they sound exactly how the record sounds. I'm like, this is so boring. Like, why am I here? Like, I don't want
Right.
to, I want to see something. I want to see like a fresh take of it. And for me, improv is always has been really important. And my band Party Dart, my collaborator Mikkel, that's actually how we started. Is I just go to his and we would just like, you know, get high and drink whiskey and just jam, like just record these long jams. Just like we'd always have like an idea going in, like, you know, like some type of structure.
Right.
Um, oh man, yeah, jamming. And we got like long, like we would do like hour long jams. And, like I remember once he had some Adderall, and he was like, "He wants some Adderall." I was like, "Sure." And we did it. We jammed, and like at the end of it, I was like, "So how long is that?" And he was like, "Uh, that was over an hour." And I was just like, "What?" And I mean, and that's Adderall, kids. Like that's what Adderall do to you. But yeah, I love that, and I think meditation really helps with that because it is like
Mm.
if you're thinking too much, that's when you're gonna fuck up. You know, when
Right.
you're like, oh god,
Absolutely.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, ooh, you know, and then said it's fine, you know. So like
I don't know if I mentioned it
meditation
to
again.
you. Um, sorry if I interrupted that last one.
No, no,
Have you heard of Kenny Beats and his YouTube series The Cave?
no. The name sounds familiar.
So he's a music
What's his
producer,
deal?
and he's made lots of songs in hip hop. I think he's done
Mm-hmm.
other stuff, other genres as well. But like, what is hip hop nowadays? You know. But so he invites
Mm-hmm.
rappers to come onto his show, The Cave, and what he would do is basically create a beat based on what the rapper was feeling. Like, what are the vibes today? And
Mm-hmm.
the rapper themselves would also like they would either freestyle or they would like make the lyrics down as soon as they started hearing the beat created, and they would go into this
Mm-hmm.
room and then perform over that beat. And the background of the performance area is a neon sign, and it says "Don't overthink shit." And like that is like the quote unquote my mantra that I live by now, you know, where it's like when I think about whittling away the mask, it's like stop overthinking shit. Like it's it's
Yeah.
it's paralyzing sometimes. The lanes that I go to to make other people's thoughts for them. I don't know what other people are thinking. So like stop trying to assume what they are.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I love that. I definitely gotta watch that YouTube video or series because like that ideally like that's how I would want to work
Mm.
with people, and I have in the past, you know, like I have had friends come over and you know, I'm like, so let's put something together. Even with
Yeah.
people that aren't musicians. My ex girlfriend, I was in a band with my ex girlfriend, and then we broke up, and the band broke. Surprise, surprise. But it's you know, she wasn't a musician at all. She'd never like done any music,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, I worked with her, and like she knew music. She was like a, you know, a music fan, and you know, it felt good to me because you know, work with somebody and sort of like figure out like something, you know, I would take her input and like
Mm-hmm.
actually make it, you know, something real. So like, you know, so I would, I think I would relate very much to Kenny Beats in this video series. So I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I
But
know. I think that there's a lot of merit to what you were just saying about someone who's maybe not experienced or identifies as like a musician who just doesn't have that sort of, I don't know. Because like when you identify as it, it's like you have to be good at this or you have to practice enough to become a good musician. Whereas if
mhm.
someone doesn't identify as a musician, it's just a fun project. You know, it's just like this is for like me and you that we're working together to make something like that. You know, where it's like
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's the sort of thing that isn't weighing that person down, and sometimes gives you like something that's really good that doesn't seem like it's been worked on before. You know, I got the same sort
yeah.
of thing from people who didn't act in at college. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't specifically choose people who've never acted before. It just happened that the theater students are very stuck up and didn't want to do student film because it would be a bad thing on their resume. So I would just
Yeah.
ask friends. I'd be like, "Hey, do you want to be in my movie?" Some of them happened to be actors, but some of them were just like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm comfortable being on camera." And I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
this is gonna be just like us hanging out. You're reading words that I've written, and think of it as just like
Mhm.
we're filming a reading, but you just have to feel
Mhm.
whatever I've written for you."
Yeah.
And they're just like, "Wow, never heard of it that way. Let's do it that way." And
Yeah,
I got some of the best performances.
yeah, that's the vibe that I want to cultivate when I have in my studio here.
Hmm.
You know, and I think it's something that people do really respond to, and if you're able to cultivate that vibe, you know, it's like you will attract people for sure.
Right.
Um, but this has been great, man. I'm getting pretty hungry, so I gotta run.
Yeah, man. You go get to that dinner.
But thanks again for having me,
Of
for
course.
everybody watching. You know, again, Jeremy McMindfulness here. Check out my Instagram at Jeremy Mindfulness. Check out my podcast, Meditating with Friends. It's on SoundCloud and Spotify right now. Should be on Apple Music soon, or whatever they call it these days. Um, but yeah, again, thanks for having me. Thanks, Kurt. We'll talk soon about having you on the podcast, and we'll get that going. So
Love what
thanks
I'm hearing.
again, and have a good night, everybody.
Good night, Jeremy.
Cool.
All right. I'm
All
going to hang
right.
out with
See
the
you.
chat for a little bit. See you in a bit.
See you.
All right. That was Jeremy, everybody. Oh, different camera. Let me see. Can I turn off the webcam? Oh, I think it's because it's connected to the webcam and not the... Oh, what? What the hell? Weird. Where's this coming from? Oh, it's coming from the Discord. There you go. You know, just in case something doesn't work, I always just layer things on top of one another. Boop, 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 boop. That was Jeremy McMahan. See, isn't streaming so fucking cool? You can just have a guided meditation session, talk to a friend about their project. Sometimes things that they create, you can share on your stream too. Right now we're listening to a track that my friend Tyler Silla actually created. Tyler was on the show, and I should definitely invite Tyler back. I'd love to pick his brain about some of the things that we talked about today. And musicianship and the like. But yeah, that's Braving New Worlds. Braving New Worlds is a concept that I created. I've never read Brave New Worlds. I just thought of this idea of people creating new realities, if that's the right way to put it, or trying to shift the way that the world works by producing things that are gonna have a lasting impact. That's what I think of when I think of Braving New Worlds, and I think Jeremy's doing that with his podcast, Meditating with Friends, which you can find. I just dropped a chat link, so you can do that. Yeah, I usually go for about 2 hours, but I think that ended perfectly, and there's no reason to keep things going, if you know what I mean. Tomorrow is inauguration day, so do whatever you need to do to get prepared for that tomorrow. I just don't think it's going to be a normal day for anybody experiencing. Did anybody see those flags that they put out? There are flags right now of like the individuals that could be attending the inauguration on the mall. Do they call it the mall or the mall? It's the mall, I think. I want to show you a picture of this. On the National Mall. I think it's wild. Where are these? Yeah, this is it. I want to see full screen though. View image. Oh, come. There we go. That's just black. Here we go. Did that work? There we go. Wild. When I first saw that, I was like, yeah, these better represent all of the people that passed away from COVID. Like, who gives a shit who could have attended? Like, who gives a shit? Like, oh, let's give a shout out to like gatherings, large gatherings, because we really missed that. No, we missed the people that died of COVID. And that's what I've been just like trying to, wrap my head around, that like we're trying to make it seem like we're okay. We're trying to make it seem like things can go on and things can be better. And they can be. They definitely can be. But it takes a lot of work to do that. No one's going to do that for us. So we have to brave a new world. One where we're considerate to one another. One where we're considerate to ourselves at the same time. Well, people aren't titles, and the people are just people. People aren't necessarily identities, they're just people, It's like, whether or not you agree with another person, like, mind your own fucking business and just treat people like people. That's the easiest thing to do. Give people the same sort of healthcare. Make things accessible. People shouldn't have to like spend all their money on like. People should have some money for themselves after like paying for all the necessities of life. And the fact that people can't even afford some insulin. I know like that's the place that I go to like a lot of the times where I'm just like talking about insurance, but it's just like shit. I mean, like you need that. Like, what the fuck? Like, why are you making this hard for people to live? I just don't understand it. And yeah, maybe you're seeing someone like radicalized live action, but fuck, man, this is getting tiring and it's getting exhausting. And we're doing the best that we can. We're working as hard as we can. Give us what we deserve. And that's just rights and healthcare. God, I don't know who put it into people's heads that it's like there are some people that don't deserve that. No, everybody deserves that. You know, where was your Christianity? Where's your religion? Where's your Catholicism or whatever? You know, like saying that like God's gonna forgive everybody, and you know, even if someone does a bad thing, they still deserve the same amenities that everybody else has. And like, oh God, I can't believe it just called healthcare an amenity. Now I'm just on a tirade. This was about meditation, and now I have so many more thoughts. It was supposed to calm my mind, but I feel like I'm moving a mile a minute. This is also the first time I've had the camera on me in a really long time. I've been doing the no cam thing, and it's always been fun. But yeah, that's the stream. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for lurking if you have been. I really appreciate the viewership. Have a great night. Be safe. Wear a mask. Have a great night.